Good afternoon. My name is Andy Johnston, and I have the privilege of serving as the Vice President of Government Affairs for your Grand Rapids Chamber. On behalf of the Chamber, welcome to the continuation of our look into the race for the 3rd Congressional District. Last week, we held a forum with the Republican candidates, and today we are pleased to be joined by Hillary Scholten, the lone Democratic candidate, who will be her party's nominee in November. We're looking forward to this discussion, and we hope you walk away with a better understanding of all the candidates in this race and their policy priorities before the election. As a reminder, the 3rd Congressional District is made up of Calhoun, Kent, Berry, and Ionia counties, along with a small portion of Montcalm County. The seat is currently held by Congressman Justin Amash. First elected as a Republican in 2010, he is no longer a member of the party and is not seeking election. 5 Republicans are squaring off in the August primary for the right to face Hillary Scholten in November. And we're going to be using the same ground rules we did for last week's forum today. So let me go over them just briefly before we begin. Our candidate is going to have 2 minutes for opening and closing statements and 1 minute to respond to 6 questions. Hillary, I don't want to use the mute button if you go over on time, but we will if needed.
Okay.
So thank you so much for joining us, and please start with your 2-minute opening statement.
Okay, thank you so much to the Chamber for having me. Thank you, Andy, for doing this, giving me the opportunity to address your members. And thank you to the viewers for taking time to listen and learn and engage. This is such a challenging time for our country, and I know business owners in particular here in West Michigan are feeling the strain. I can't wait to get to work for us in Congress as our representative. I was born and raised here in West Michigan, and I'm raising my family here now too. My husband, Jesse, is a professor at Calvin University, and we're raising our 2 young boys who are 10 and 8 over on the southeast side. Growing up, I was raised in a fairly conservative, Republican-leaning community. My own family wasn't overly political, but my parents taught me the importance of giving back, of service to our community, especially in times of need. My parents' example is what inspired me to become a social worker and later a public interest lawyer, serving both the Justice Department in Washington, D.C., and then working for families here in Grand Rapids. Throughout my advocacy in our community, I have been struck by the deep need for a strong champion for our district in Washington, D.C. There has never been a more important time to step up and give back to our community than 2020. I'm running to ensure that all individuals have access to high quality, affordable, and reliable healthcare, that our water here in West Michigan is free from toxic chemicals like PFAS and lead, and that we can rebuild our economy in the wake of COVID-19 in a way that works for everyone, to help the Chamber realize its mission to create a thriving West Michigan for all. As a mom, a public interest lawyer, and a person of deep faith, everything I care about is on the line in 2020. I'm running to bring service-oriented leadership back to our district and get things done for us in Washington, D.C.
Thank you. Please share with us what your top 3 policy priorities are.
Healthcare, protecting our clean drinking water, and rebuilding our economy, especially in the wake of COVID-19, in a way that works for everyone. When it comes to healthcare, we have to do something. We are at a crisis point right now. We have 5.4 million Americans who are without health insurance in this country due to the rising unemployment rates. And we need a quality option for healthcare that is not tied to employment. Businesses need this, and hardworking families need this option too. My plan is to improve upon the Affordable Care Act by creating a public option and lowering overall costs. When it comes to water, we have to ensure that our water here in West Michigan is clean. Water is a huge expense for businesses. From breweries to factories, we rely on clean drinking water here in West Michigan. We need a clean water supply to create a good and hospitable business environment. We also obviously need this for individuals who, as a mom, I know what it's like to turn on the tap and worry what's in there. We have to clean up our water if we want West Michigan to thrive. And lastly, rebuilding our economy in the wake of COVID-19 in a way that works for everyone, focusing on economic stimulus initiatives that spur growth across sectors and communities, not just isolated in the pockets of a few.
And that's the perfect segue to question number two, which is, as we work our way through COVID-19 as a nation, what policies would you support at the federal level to boost Michigan's economic recovery?
I believe that the role of the federal government is to create a strong foundation on which individuals can thrive, not to get in the way, to create a firm platform where innovation and entrepreneurship can lead us forward, to help build a solid American economy where consumer confidence is strong and investment is strong. The current administration has frankly done just the opposite by ballooning our federal deficit through special interest giveaways while our public infrastructure like roads crumble and our public schools are bankrupt. To that end, I'll support crucial funding for our public schools, which is the bedrock of economic growth. Good public schools provide a strong foundation on which individuals can thrive and also attract business investments. I will also fight for critical infrastructure funding and research. Top priority of mine after I get elected is to make it onto the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. We need an advocate there in West Michigan, from Michigan, to update our airports, fix our roads, and improve our drinking water.
Thank you. Question number three, immigration is an important component of Michigan's economy. Our most recent data shows that foreign-born residents in Kent County contributed over $3 billion to the county's GDP. What is your stance on immigration reform?
Do I really only have a minute on this one?
1 minute.
With over 15 years of experience in immigration, I have a lot of ideas. I've worked at both the enforcement level at the Justice Department and alongside immigrants here, navigating our laws. And I can tell you firsthand just how broken our immigration system is, presenting not only a major humanitarian crisis, but an economic crisis as well. I fully support comprehensive immigration reform, which would end the inhumane practice of family separation, keep our borders safe, and bring new jobs and opportunities in the process. I've been very proud to be a part of the Chamber's Gateway for Growth initiative, which seeks to create open and welcoming communities for immigrants here in West Michigan. Kudos to the Chamber for their work there. In that spirit and sentiment, I'll work to improve our immigration system in Congress.
Thank you. Question number four, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought to light disparities in a number of areas, including in healthcare, which you mentioned as one of your key policy priorities. Do you have any federal policy ideas on how to approach healthcare disparities?
Yeah, again, so many that are hard to cover in just 1 minute. But as I mentioned, I think continuing to expand on the gains of the Affordable Care Act by creating a public option for individuals to buy into this system. We need options when it comes to healthcare, and creating this option that isn't tied to employment is good for businesses and good for individuals. I also want to lower overall costs through competition and transparency. We need to ensure that when taxpayer money goes for research and investment to drugs like for treating COVID-19, that pharma companies don't get $1 million profit at taxpayers' expense. Public dollars for public good should remain there.
Thank you. Question number five, now perhaps more than ever, Michigan needs effective representation in Congress. Why will you be the most effective Congresswoman to represent the 3rd District of Michigan, and how do you define effectiveness?
I define effectiveness as helping our taxpayers get the most for their money and making sure their voices are heard loud and clear in Congress. I'll be there for our community on big things like major votes on healthcare or immigration reform or taxes, and on smaller day-to-day things like helping folks navigate federal programs from Social Security to the VA to student loan applications. We need to ask ourselves right now, are we going to elect someone who will continue to sign off on special interest handouts with our hard-earned money, or someone who will make sure that our tax dollars are coming back to the community where they belong in a way that helps spur the most growth and expands opportunity for all in our community? Again, especially those who need it most, including our communities of color who have been disproportionately impacted by this virus and the economic recession.
Thank you. Our sixth question was one that was pulled from the chat in the previous forum. So in fairness, going to give it to you as well. And it's still timely. It has to do with the federal government's pandemic unemployment assistance, the $600. Some have said it's created a disincentive for preventing people from going back to work. Other people say that the $600 federal unemployment assistance needs to be continued during this time when people are really struggling. It's been a lifeline. It's being debated in Congress right now. What's your stance on the $600? Should that be continued or not?
Incredibly timely, still very much so. And no one wants to be in this situation that we're in right now. People are ready to get back to work, but as the virus continues to grow and spread, and we see resurgences and businesses are not fully back online, I do believe that we need to continue this payment. Not only is it a critical lifeline for individuals, as you mentioned, but our economy needs this money back in, is circulating in our local economy, not being doled out to special interests. When we look at the way that the COVID-19 spending has gone, billions of dollars in special interest handouts have changed hands in Congress. And meanwhile, everyday working people are struggling. Small businesses are struggling as individuals feel they don't have the resources they need to go out and spend and buy new things. So I believe that money belongs back in the hands of spenders, of consumers, to, again, not only provide that critical lifeline, but to continue to spur economic growth.
Thank you. That does it for our questions.
Okay.
So we're already at our 2-minute closing statement. Hillary, take it away.
Thank you so much. Our campaign is building something new here in West Michigan. A new political home for those who feel abandoned by their party, by the political process, who feel they have not had their voices heard. If you're worried about the rising cost of healthcare, elect a mother and the daughter of a baby boomer who gets it. If you're tired of your tax dollars being dealt away to special interests and crony deals while our roads and infrastructure crumble and our public schools are on life support, elect a public interest attorney who fights corruption for her job. If you're worried about our drinking water for your business or your family, elect a mother who knows what it's like to worry when she turns on the faucet for her kids. If you're concerned that you or perhaps your children or grandchildren will never be able to purchase a home because of the rising cost of student loan debt, elect a working mom who knows what it's like to pay those student loans every single month. If you're concerned about the ballooning federal deficit and irresponsible financial practices in Washington, elect a frugal Dutch mom who knows how to make a dollar stretch and get a budget in shape. If you're concerned that our leadership in Washington, D.C. has lost its moral compass, elect a leader of deep faith who's ready to bring humble and service-oriented leadership back to our district. If you're ready to work together to build a West Michigan that works for all, there's room for you in our campaign. I hope you'll join us. You can learn more and get involved at HillaryScholten.com. I look forward to serving you as the first Congresswoman ever from Michigan's 3rd Congressional District. Thank you.
Hillary Scholten, thank you so much for joining us on behalf of the Chamber. This concludes our series in the 3rd Congressional Candidate Forums. We truly appreciate you taking the time to understand and learn from and get to know the people that are running to represent you in Washington. You can find out more about how to connect with our elected officials and candidates at the Chamber's website, grandrapids.org. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.